the Fell Bombardment, which sends out these periodic bombardments. Yeah, gonna try that again.
Hey everybody, sit down around the hearth, grab a frosty mug of ale. Welcome to the Lions Pride Tavern, where we discuss all things Azeroth. All right, hey everybody, welcome to the Lions Pride Tavern podcast number 71. Tonight we find out how we did in this weekend's continuing raid of Antorus the Burning Throne. And tonight we start up our infamous series, Dancing with the Bosses. But before all that, let's start off with introductions. Next up is JobUi.
Hi, I'm JobUi. I play a Worgen Fire Mage.
And Lorelei.
Hi, it's Lorelei. I'm your Night Elf Fury Warrior.
Well, your voice is sounding better.
Yeah, a little bit.
And up north we have Epistle.
I'm Epistle. I play a Draenei and Dwarven Protection Paladin.
And Charity, does she play a Draenei?
I do. I play Draenei, Resto, Shaman, and sometimes, when I'm lucky, DPS.
Yeah, because sometimes we go, Charity, can you switch over? We have 15 healers and we don't need that many. So how's everybody this week?
Fantastic.
Not bad.
Not
Awesome.
too bad.
Having a
Anybody-
holiday tomorrow and some possible snow days or day this
Ooh,
week.
nice.
You're one of those.
Yeah, we had, 4.5 snow days already?
Oh, I
It
meant
started
getting
snowing
Monday
again.
Yeah.
My
I'm
wife
trying
and
to-
son get it off, but I don't.
Aw.
I'm trying to think of a time we actually ever had a snow day around here. I'm sure it's happened, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
Once back in 1874.
Yeah, my memory doesn't go back that far.
When I was your age, we walked uphill both ways.
In bare feet.
In the pouring rain.
Yeah.
Or snow.
I managed to get my new week aura for Fire Mage completed.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah.
Ooh, shiny.
Yeah, it's all animated and nifty. There's still a little tweaking that I need to do to it, but yeah, it's pretty much done.
I changed some things on my healing stuff to go with the way our raids are run, and I've noticed a real big increase, so I'm pretty happy with it.
Awesome.
So, do you want to post those week auras on the website, JobUi?
This one?
Yeah.
Once it's fully refined, I'll probably post it. I don't want to release it until I've managed to make sure I've worked out all the kinks and all the bugs, and all that. But once it's done and I've cleaned it all up, yeah, I'll probably release it.
Yeah, so
Can't-
what we're talking about... Nope.
I said you can't sell something sturdy, gotta clean it up first.
Hey, but in the tech world, everything's a beta.
Yeah, right.
All right, so let's find out how we did in this weekend's raid, JobUi.
This week we had a record week. We did 9 of 11 bosses on Friday night, finishing off the Coven and getting ready for Saturday, which we came back on Saturday, and then we two-shotted Agramar because we had a little bit of a mess up on the first pull, where there was a little tank miscommunication. It got cleaned up. Second pull on that went silky smooth, took Agramar down, went on to Argus the Unmaker, and took Argus down in our first pull of the night.
Nice.
Yeah,
Mm.
with 30 people. So that was
full raid group.
yeah, it was a really
so
nice
much fun.
It really was. Everybody did a great job. They were really on point. The mechanics were being handled really well. I didn't see a lot of messing up. There was one point where I got worried because I saw Tappuccino actually running towards the tree with the bomb, and I was like, "Oh, don't go to the tree!" But then what I didn't realize is that the marker was behind the tree. I couldn't see the marker back there, but she knew where to go. But yeah, went great. And then after defeating the boss, we went back and did heroic, and took on Guidotti the Worldbreaker and the Fellhounds, and got both of those down on heroic.
Yeah, and I didn't get a thing out of either one.
Yeah.
I did, but only as something somebody else didn't need. So
All
I
right,
got to
so
roll on it.
we should have, since we're getting the last boss down, Agrimar, we should have a telltale of who got the trinkets.
Oh, that would, I've
Nobody.
seen.
I don't
No,
think
we-
anybody did.
No, they did. We had I think they said there was 2 trinkets that dropped last night.
Yeah, I thought I heard someone say that.
Oh, did
Yeah,
you? Okay, I must have missed that.
Yeah, I haven't been keeping track of who's gotten them and who hasn't, but I know there's been a few here and there that have gotten them. None of the legendary trinkets yet, and that's the one I'm really hoping for.
So we got the Agrimar trinket, but not the legendary trinket.
Yeah, we've had a number of the Agrimar trinkets drop. Like, I think
Okay.
probably like 3 or 4, and then a bunch of us have gotten the Pantheon's Blessings, which are the items to upgrade those
Yeah.
trinkets, should we ever get one.
Right, but
That's-
those are for the legendary trinket.
No, those
Didn't-
aren't for the legendary.
Didn't Epistle get one?
I got the upgrades, but that's it.
Okay, because it's. Oh, maybe that's
Oh,
just
I
a
did.
legendary.
Yeah, I did get a legendary, which
Okay,
surprised me. I
I
thought
wasn't
I had
sure if
them all.
that's what it was or not.
Yeah, I'm still waiting. I'm actually waiting on. I think I'm down to my very last mage legendary before I'll start getting those tokens for my alts, I guess, or something like that. But I have one
Oh,
more
that's
mage
cool.
legendary to get.
How
Yeah.
many are there total? I've never really kept track.
I don't know exactly.
5 or 6, I think,
What
is what it
for
was
each
per class.
one?
Yeah.
It's more than that.
I've got more than that.
Yeah, it's,
All right,
it's more than
maybe
that.
it's
There
more.
there are some that are like cross spec though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there's rings and stuff that sometimes apply to more than one spec. But I think there's like 10 or 12 now or something.
Oh, wow, I didn't
Let me
realize
see.
that much. But
Let-
let's
let
go
me
back to
count.
the legendary trinkets, though. Nobody has gotten one of those yet in our raid group.
No.
But I mean, this is what, this third time we've killed Agrimar?
Mm-hmm. That's
Yeah.
our third Agrimar
Yeah.
kill.
It's
So-
really
Argus kill.
weird that nobody's gotten one.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because what I've been reading is it's an entirely random who gets it. I mean, there's nothing special about it, of who actually gets the legendary trinkets. But a lot of people are saying, man, I've done this thing 8, 9 times, and I haven't seen anybody get dropped, the legendary trinket. So I just I think we should just keep track of that in the back of our minds, and each week ask the question and see if anybody got the legendary. I mean, if they did great. But
Mhm.
see how many weeks go by. I mean, until the first one drops, because this
I
is
know-
the second week that we've got him down.
Third week.
Or I'm sorry, yes, third. I just said
But yeah,
third
the
time.
I'm planning on hitting LFR every week as soon as that wing of LFR comes out, because it apparently has a chance to drop from the LFR version as well. So
Oh, really?
So I'll go kill the LFR Argus the Unmaker with whatever random scrappy band of LFR goers I run into, and get another chance at the trinket every week. I'm
All
gonna
right,
do
but
that until I get
here's
it.
my thought on that, though, and Durag brought this up because I asked him about that. He's thinking that if you get the legendary, it's like a week. It might be a week before you can try to get it again. So if you get the LFR version, and then
There's no
could have got
LFR
it.
version of the legendary.
I thought that's what you just said.
No, you can get the legendary in LFR, but it's still a 1,000 item level legendary. It's exactly the same as you would get from normal or heroic or mythic.
Oh, so it's not going to be. Oh, okay. So it is the exact same one.
Yeah. Now
Oh,
I don't
see,
know.
he was explaining it to me. I thought he was saying that there's going to be a item level difference between it.
Now I'm talking about the legendary one, not
Yeah,
the.
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the legendary one has from what I understand, every bit as or it has a chance to drop off of Argus in LFR. So if you go fight Argus in LFR, you might get the legendary trinket. You might get. Now I don't think. Yeah, you cannot get the the trinket that is upgradable does not drop in LFR. That only drops in normal and above.
Yeah, that's too bad.
But but from what I understand, the legendary trinket is supposed to drop from the LFR version of Argus the Unmaker.
Okay.
Now, that hasn't been confirmed yet because that hasn't been released.
Yeah, it doesn't release until tomorrow, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. So, but that's the story anyway.
Okay. Well, we'll have to see. We'll have to, anybody who's doing the LFRs tomorrow or later, my concern was, okay, if you get it on, on Tuesday when everything resets and then Friday we raid, are you going to have the chance of getting the normal version? But if they're all the same, then it doesn't make any difference.
Yeah, well, the legendary would be the same on those.
Yeah.
Because it's, it's just, I guess, the legendary is just tied to that boss, which is kind of unfortunate. I wish that legendary had a drop chance off of wherever you might get a legendary.
Well, and that was my point, is that, only Argus drops it, and they're not telling anybody what the percentage is. People are guessing at it, because there's some raid groups that do Argus, and there's, 4 people got it, and then the next week there's people that have done it 8 times, and it's never dropped. So, they're trying to figure it out, but Blizzard's being pretty tight about it.
Yeah, I'm not sure they want us to know how much that stuff drops.
Well, I knew a guy that he complained all the time because he's like, if there's a 10% drop rate, my luck really is terrible. It was like me, it was my first legendary. Everybody had theirs and I didn't. All of a sudden, just out of the blue, I think it was even on a trash, mine dropped. I remember yelling and screaming, and that was great.
Yeah, according to what I've seen from other people, the drop rate on the legendary trinket coming from Argus, and I'm speaking strictly of the 1,000 item level, orange labeled legendary, is somewhere around 0.1 to 0.3%. So really low chance.
All right. Yeah, it's hard to say, because like I said, I heard one guy said, oh yeah, it's like a 30% drop rate. I'm like, okay, then my luck is terrible. Our luck is terrible. I haven't seen it drop yet.
Now, the regular trinkets are supposed to have a little higher drop rate.
Right, but he wasn't talking about that. He was talking about the legendary.
Yeah.
Specifically.
And the thing about that legendary, what makes it so sought after is that it doesn't count against your other legendaries.
Correct.
So you can have that one plus 2 other legendaries, and, how awesome would that be?
Right. And I think that's going to be the big push come tomorrow with the LFR. You're going to see a lot of people doing that Argus fight.
And as long as you go into LFR with low expectations, you don't get disappointed.
You got friends and low expectations?
Yeah, well,
I do. I'll be honest.
See, I go in, I don't expect much from LFR. I just go in and I'm like, man, I'm going to DPS as hard as I can, just like normal. And hopefully these people won't be too horrible. And sometimes they are, and sometimes they're not. Sometimes I'm really pleasantly surprised I run into a group that's just killing it.
Yep.
I have an awesome LFR story. So I joined this group, and I was watching TV at the same time I was playing. I really wasn't doing the best I could, but it was just my our heroic geared tunes before Antorus came out, and I went, oh man, I gotta go take a break. So I ran into the bathroom, and the boss fight had started. I was inside, so I was just standing there for about, I don't know, 2/3 of the fight. Maybe not that much, maybe half. And I came back out, and somebody was saying, we need to drop that hunter. He ain't doing anything. And so I started doing all this damage, and I was number 1 by the end of the fight for DPS.
Yeah, that happens.
They didn't have too much
That's
to
because
say
you're
after
actually
that.
hitting something. Everybody else just stands around and waits for somebody else to do it.
Is that what it is?
Or maybe hit
Well, that's the
keys.
groups I find.
Yeah, there are times when I go into an LFR and I look at the DPS meter and I'm
double number
no,
2.
no, like it's me, and then if you add like the next 3 or 4 people together, that's how much
Total you.
DPS I'm doing. You know, I'm like, oh, all right, well that's okay though, and I don't mind. I mean, a lot of people that are doing the LFRs, I mean, they're doing LFR with their alts, with their upcoming tunes, or maybe they're just straight up casual players who are not well geared, and I mean, we just killed 2 heroic bosses, so and I run Mythic Plus 14 and 15s, you know, so
Oh yes, please tell us how that went.
it went good actually. I mean, it wasn't in time, but we weren't really pushing for time. We were just pushing for completion.
Okay.
But I think we got ours down in like we went 55 minutes, I think, which was way over time, but we kept getting the quaking kept getting us occasionally and stuff. That's a really annoying one. So, but I mean,
I know I could hear Durag in the other room, not using well, he's using adult words, but not the words you should use in front of your dad.
Well, that wasn't the group that I had. We had Mommy, and it was Mommy and Sky, and Emma, and Dizzy, I think, is who went in my group.
Maybe that's why he was swearing so much, because he wasn't in your group.
Yeah, he was in the other group. We were curious actually about whether or not the other group was going to get done before or after us. I mean, it did come up in conversation because there was 2 groups running. But yeah, we completed it. So I mean, there's that. You know?
Nice. All right, so
and just to be clear
go ahead.
about that, by the way, we were doing that to get the weekly class hall chest. Not so much like whatever gear might drop from it. I mean, it does drop like 930 plus, I think, or 940 plus or something gear. I think it's 930 plus, but the weekly chest we did a plus 14, which I think drops 955 plus gear. And I, like last week, I had a ring Titan Forge out of there and come out as 985. So, I mean, you can get some really, really good gear from running those high-level Mythic Plus dungeons and then opening that chest in your class hall.
Very cool. Yeah, I know he finished it because he walks out and he goes, that was something. I'd have to bleep myself if I said exactly what he said. So, but I know he got it done. He just wasn't happy about it.
Now, I have been in some groups that have finished Mythic Plus 14 and Mythic Plus 15 in time, and that's hard, man. That's hard. You gotta be hitting it hard and fast and not making very many mistakes.
All right, so we've downed Argus 3 times now, and I think we're getting pretty good at all the bosses because, like JoBui said, we got. Now, did we get? I'm sorry, I didn't quite remember. Did we get Coven down on our first night?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and that's the first time we've gotten to that far that
Correct.
we actually killed her.
The best we had done prior to that was a single hurried pull on Coven that did not go well.
Yeah.
And that's as good as we had done prior to that. But in this week's raid, we got there with a little time to spare. Finished boss. I think we still had like 7 minutes left on our timer when we were cool. when we finished the boss.
Because I know when I came in Friday, I was like, I wanted to go see Coven again, and everybody's like, no, they're gone. You can't go. For anybody who's done Coven, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So, being that we've done that Argus, we've gotten down 3 times and everything, I'm going to ask the question again now, because now we've been through it all, and there's no, well, I haven't done this boss yet. Which is your favorite and which is your least favorite boss of all 11 bosses? JoBui?
My favorite I think my favorite is gonna have to be. It's really close between Argus the Unmaker and ENR the Lifebinder. I still love the chaotic feel of ENR, and it seems like a just kind of a fun fight. But I like the complexity of the Argus the Unmaker fight, and I also really like that they've introduced a couple of new elements in a fight in this, which is that players who are dead are still useful in that fight, which is that's kind of an interesting thing to me. Um, I like that there's big ads that you that are specific to your type of damage type. So you have an ad that you can do lots of damage on. That's really fun. Um, and there's plenty of mechanics to do, which can potentially wipe the raid. But when everybody does them, it's exciting, it's chaotic, it's fun, and it's interesting. So I think Argus edges out ENR for me, but it's pretty close.
Okay. So that's 2 that you like instead of 1. That's fine. All right. Which one do you not like out of all of them?
Varamathras. I don't
Yeah.
like Varamathras. It's
Why is that?
boring.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, the way we do it works pretty well, and it might get more interesting in Heroic when we get there. I'm sure it will get more interesting in Heroic when we get there, but in normal, it's literally stand on this spot, pew pew pew, move over 8 to 10 yards, stand on that spot, pew pew pew, and that's it. It's just
Okay.
do that over and over and over again.
So it's
until
kind of
the
like
boss is dead.
what a tank does.
Sort of.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it can get a little dull, and so
Okay.
I would say that's my least favorite.
Fair enough. Lorelei?
I still like EONR as my favorite, just because it looks different, and I'm really kind of tired of the green fell underground dungeon thing, and I like that you can see it, it's pretty, and it's different.
And you get to
Um,
fly.
Yeah, that's always fun too. I like doing that. Um, I was going to say that I didn't like Guidotti because it was boring, but then when Jobu was talking about Veramathis, I'm like, yeah, that's got even less mechanics than Guidotti, and it really is just stand in one place, move to the side, go to the other side, stand there, move to the other side, and there's really nothing to it.
Okay.
Which for me is surprising because it's so far down the list that it almost doesn't even feel like a boss.
Right. Yeah. I get it. No, trust me, I get it. Epistle from a tanking, because you're
Yeah.
always just a little different than what we think, because
Yeah.
it's the tanking part.
So for me, it depends on how we're going to say it. The ones I like the most is a toss-up between Argus because of the complexity. I'm with Jobui on that one, or Portal Keeper. I still think Portal Keeper is my favorite between them. Because it's a lot of trying to coordinate on the fly and tanks swapping debuffs and can you survive? You've got enough cooldowns and making a call in the moment about who's going to go up and who's going to stay down. And so I enjoy the flexibility and the fun. I think a little more in Portal Keeper than the layered and complex fight that is Argus. So both of them are up there, but Portal Keeper wins out. Now, I'm going to say the ones that I like the least, I'm going to change that a little bit more and say, which ones terrify me the most? And I would say between all the ones we discussed right now, I would say it's either Agrimar or Veramathras. Can't quite make up a mind on that one. Partially because of our last experience with Agrimar. That's kind of up there. But Veramathras is from a tanking perspective, really terrifying because they're taking away your ability to self-heal. And mitigation doesn't matter if you've got a debuff on you that's going to kill you. So there's a certain kind of feeling like you're just on the edge of a cliff on all of the Veramathras fights. And you just might tip over into the abyss. And from time to time, that is indeed what's happened. And trying to recover from that one if you go down as a tank is... I don't know that we've ever done that successfully, because I think if you're down, that's it. Raid wipe.
Yeah, I don't think we ever have come back from that if one of them goes down.
No, we've tried, but failed miserably.
Yeah, but never happened.
Yeah, I
Like,
think in talking with Dark, that was, I know from his perspective too, it's just that's the one he's always just on the edge of. I can hear him scream through cyberspace on that one,
you can hear him from Montana all the way up in Canada, huh?
pretty much.
All right. Charity.
So I agree with Fair Mathis as the worst because as a healer, I can't do anything except run out of mana trying to heal these tanks. And that's what I mean, all I gotta do is put my AoE down for the group. It's not worried about the group. But I'm sitting there spamming the heck out of my heals, hoping that I get a heal in between those debuffs. And it's so frustrating because I don't even know half the time the in between time. So I always got to keep something on them, and I just feel like it's about trying to get as much in on them at all times, and that's all it is. So
Well,
it's
it
no
comes so
fun
fast. It's
to
hard to
me.
coordinate, right? It comes so
Exactly.
fast.
And it's no fun. Like, I don't have fun in that fight. And I think that's why. It's not that it's complex. I like complexity. I just don't like that I'm sitting there hoping I get a heal off on you guys,
Which is
and you
funny
don't
because
die.
I'm sure that everyone else is like Lorelai, hit, move, hit,
And
move,
it's
hit,
boring. It
yawn.
is.
Meanwhile, the tanks and healers are like, no,
Oh,
no
Yeah.
death,
oh,
no.
oh,
You know,
butt pucker. Oh, God.
maybe that's what happened with that fight. Maybe Blizzard spent so much time working on making it interesting for tanks and healers that they made it just the most boring fight for DPS.
They
Could
roll
be.
swapped. They roll swapped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now
And
instead of
then,
the tank just being bored, everybody else gets to be bored.
Yeah. At least it's, I mean, at least they didn't make very many of the, well, they do have kind of the one put the tank in the corner fight. I mean, the Fellhounds is kind of like that, isn't it?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
two are definitely on the boring meter.
Yeah, they're walks. They're they're just on farm as far as
Yeah,
I'm
well,
concerned. For normal.
those are like, hey, welcome, enjoy the ride.
yeah.
Here's something to
And
do
then,
until we get to the good bosses.
my
Yeah.
favorite is Argus because it's 3 fights in one. Like, the first part is we have to coordinate to do the clockwork thing around the circle, and there's so much going on with that, and you're getting a debuff. That could be a fight on its own. And then we have the bombs, and we have to worry about getting the bombs from here to there, and then the debuffs going off and stuff, and there's so much coordination with that. And then it's like, oh, it's over. No, just kidding. Let's up it a notch and put it in fast forward and do it now. And let's throw shit everywhere while you're doing the same thing at the same time. And it's just crazy. And I can be a hero in that fight and like throw a hot over here, throw a heal over there, because sometimes I'll get the bomb and I'll explode and I'll come back with all my mana again. And I'm like, yeah! And I'm throwing hots and throwing cooldowns, and it's so exciting.
Well, I'm surprised you missed the exciting part of actually the third phase. There's actually 4 in there, I think. The third phase is when all those ads come out.
See?
And
And
you have
then
to
there's
get them.
another whole
And then
fight.
there's that one.
It's
Yeah,
just so
nasty ads.
much.
The tank killer ads that seem to
Oh,
always be able
well,
to take one of us out during that.
they seem to take out a DPS right before you guys know who's
Mhm.
gonna need. Yeah, it sucks. But there's so much going on, and it's so complex, and I'm never bored. It's so exciting. So I love that fight.
It did try to take me out this week. The big ad trying to take out one of the DPS at the beginning of the fight. It was
Oh
my
yeah.
it was my ad.
Last
And
week it was Pucky's. He's like, ah, crap.
did
I
he
could
get
hear him.
did one go after him too?
Yes.
Yeah, the one came after me, and I was like, uh-oh, and it was running straight at me, and then I ice blocked, and then I saw Durag grab it and pull it away.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, good job, Durag.
Well, that's why he's like, if you res me, I'll make it worth your while.
Nice. Well, JoeBuoy, talk a little bit about Argus because we changed up just a couple little things that we were doing on that too, and I think it went a little smoother, especially when we got to the mobs. But
Yeah, well, on Argus, we really only changed up one thing, really, which was just when we were going to hero. Um, we had been heroing at the beginning of the big ad phase just to kind of push through it really quickly. But I discussed it with Pucky. Actually, had talked to me about moving it to the final phase. That's how his group does it, and that was where I ultimately wanted to put the hero, was in the final phase. But we were having a little bit of trouble with that phase, with the ads taking too long and people missing some of those interrupts and stuff. So we had been doing hero there with the eventual plan to move it. But I just decided, okay, let's just go ahead and move it, because I think people are getting the big ads part now. And I emphasized, hey, make sure you're handling those interrupts before we did the fight. And for the most part, they were handled. I think I got hit by somebody's errant cosmic beacon somewhere along in the fight, but I took it to the wall and dropped it off by myself, and I didn't hurt anybody with it, so it wasn't a big deal. But yeah, just moved it to the end, giving us that extra boost right at the end of the fight, when it's mad chaos going on, because there is really a lot going on in that final phase.
Well, the one thing I noticed that happened that has not happened yet is everybody was alive.
Yeah.
And we didn't use any reses, any B-reses, up until the time that the fight kills you. Everybody was alive. So everybody did their job that time completely. And
Yeah,
didn't die of anything stupid.
They did. They did their jobs very well. People were dropping in the first phase. People were dropping their I think it's called Soul Blight, in the correct spots. People were moving at the right times. People were putting they were even putting the buffs, the two little buff spheres that you get, the sea orb and the sky orb. They were putting those in the roughly the right spots. So basically everybody was really doing a good job.
Yeah.
And that's what did it for that whole fight, really.
Well, and the other thing I thought we changed was the fact that when ranged takes out their physical target, the one that gives them the physical damage buff,
Right.
we changed it to, instead of just going to another boss and killing that one, we all started targeting the one in the center with the tank.
Yeah,
because we hadn't done that before.
Yeah, you're right. I did create a priority list basically with that,
Yeah.
which we didn't have
Small
before. It was
change.
just, yeah, I forgot I had mentioned to do that. But yeah, just basically hit your target that you're going to do a lot of damage to. Like for me, it's the fire one. For the hunters, it's physical, and so on and so forth. And then when yours is dead, kill the one in the middle. If the one in the middle dies, then kill the one that the tanks got bunched up with another one. So we had like a primary target, which is your main damage ability one, the one that's vulnerable to your type of damage. Secondary target was the one that the tanks had in the center of the room, and then a third target in case that one was gone, which was whichever one the tank had, coupled up with a second one that they were tanking on the edge of the room.
Yeah, I have to admit though, what I did is I did mine and I did the middle one, and then I saw Jobui's, and I went over there and helped you.
That's cool. That's fine, man.
I was like, yeah, he usually says that he's the only one over there, but we had a couple mages, so they should have been there with you. But
No, they're on the frost one.
Well, I'm
Oh,
kind of
okay.
a little I'm a little inclined to say that we should take out the second large one as soon as we can, because that one, there's a chance that it's going to take out a tank, namely me, because I'm the one who's usually taking it, and that's happened quite a few times.
Yeah.
So on several of our attempts. So I think the fact that we're taking the one that Darg has out first takes the pressure off the healers to then try to keep two tanks alive when we're taking quite a bit of damage. So I think that really helps a lot. I would prefer that. I mean, I'm sure my gear is going to be great in the next little while, and it won't matter on normal. But in the short term, it might prevent a few pally deaths.
Well, that's what the whole idea there is as players get freed up, because we had like 6 hunters last night.
Yeah.
So like those 6 hunters are all on one big ad if they're hitting their correct targets at the beginning. So
and it melted. It just melted.
Oh yeah, with double damage from all of those heavy hitting hunters, and then and so it just gets disintegrated, and then they're on the one in the middle, and they free that one up, and that's got to make your tanking job a little bit easier, like you said, and easier on the healers. And then if you're tanking the one on the outside, your ad is next on their priority list. Now, Fafford didn't listen, but that's okay.
What?
Do you see? I was not trying to pick on anyone. I was just saying, let's keep making sure that that's going to happen, and it's important.
Yeah, but that's okay. I mean, it worked. It worked really well, actually. When I turned around, because like I said, my ad is usually one of the last ones up, because most of the time I'm there by myself. Now, I did see Arkenshadow on my ad with me. I think he was just on the wrong one, but there was when I turned around after my ad dropped, there was one ad still up in the room on the far side of the room, and I tried to blink over to it and give it a whack, but it died before I even got there.
All right. I won't take it personally.
Well, no, I mean, it's cool. It's fine. The secondary ad after the one in the center would just be whichever one the tank has, usually bunched up with another one of the big ads, because the tanks usually take that second ad and they put it inside of cleave range of one of the others. So like, let's say that they pick up the shadow ad and the frost ad, right? Those are the two that get the swords. The frost ad ends up in the middle of the room, and then the shadow ad gets taken over next to the nature ad, and so the shadow ad and nature ad are standing together, and they're kind of getting cleaved, so people are like hitting both of them. But so the idea is that you kill that one in the middle, and then you target the one that the second tank has. And now you said you went to mine, which is fine, but the tank didn't have mine at that point. So
yeah, I know.
So
I just didn't want you to. I didn't want you to turn around and go, I got that one down all by myself.
No.
Because
Because
I don't want you to take it personally.
He's gotten close.
I don't want you to take it personally. I just want you to keep me alive. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and you're right. I have gotten close to killing one of those by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I've been. That's actually kind of a little like.
I know it's a goal of yours, and I turned around and went, I'm going to screw up his goal.
Yeah, I would like to melt one all by my lonesome. That would be kind of fun.
Hey, Shepard, next time just toss a debuff on it.
Yeah.
Some sort of dot or something. I'll throw a shield at it. It'll be good.
I'll sheep him. No, I can't sheep him. That's
Hey, you'd be
Nope, not anymore.
surprised how much I DPS in raids in between heals, especially on those bosses that I'm not healing the entire time, that I don't need to. Because our healers, when we're doing all right, I'm throwing out DPS.
Yeah, well, I mean, and as well as you could, because we have an awesome heal team. I mean, they're great. And we were a little heal short when we started into our heroics. I think we got the first boss down with the number of healers, but then didn't we switch and brought in one more healer on the dogs?
Yeah.
So
It's a very heal intensive fight, though. There's a lot of damage going on.
Especially with the new mechanic that they threw at us. So
Yeah, and as we're learning a new mechanic, we make a multitude of sins which the healers, coat over
have to
nicely
make
for us.
up for.
yeah.
Well,
that is the learning curve there.
Yeah, JoBui says everybody run together, and what does Fafford do? Runs off by himself
and dies.
and dies.
Well, and that's what I had said in my past heal thing, is that we should all be using our utilities. We're not just sparkly healers, If we can do something else to help our group, then we should be doing that.
Don't tell Tappuccino that. All right, guys, we need to move on. We got to do dancing with the bosses. This is something we came up with a while back, and Charity's going to be, this is her first one. So what we do is we talk about each boss in order, and from our perspective as the role that we play. So, for instance, as a tank, he only talks about what he does as a tank for this boss. So we're starting off with Guidotti Worldbreaker, and we'll start off with JoBui with ranged DPS.
All right, as a ranged DPS in this fight, usually we begin the fight with a hero. That's right at the very start of the fight. So I'll open up with my standard opener, pre-potting, blasting my cooldowns and whatnot. And I usually, at the beginning of the fight, I stay about in the middle of the room, facing the boss, and I just start hitting it as hard as I can. And then What I watch out for is occasionally I will get targeted with a debuff called Decimation, which gives me about 5 seconds, I think. It puts a big, like it says I've got Decimation, and then I need to move out from the group. So I move to one of the sides. I usually blink because I'm a mage. But if I don't have blink, I just run. And then Decimation drops, which puts a great big circle on the ground. And then I run out of the circle back towards the center. Not putting that circle on top of any of the group. Then I just keep DPSing the boss until the boss goes into its Apocalypse Drive, I think, mode, which is basically the boss stops doing its normal stuff and exposes two weapons. One's the Annihilation weapon, and one's the Decimation weapon. And we usually attack the Annihilation weapon first. So I target that one, and I DPS that as hard as I can. When that thing goes away, when it dies, basically, when the weapon gets destroyed, then the boss does a big attack, which I forget what it's called. I want to say it's Exhilaration or something like that, or something. It's basically this big knockback damage attack. So everybody has to run to the back of the room. I run to the back of the room, and then after that, now the way we handle the mechanic, and I know different teams handle it different ways, but the way we handle it is we put up 2 markers next to the boss, and we designate 1 marker as the starting point, and all players go and stack on that, and we stack real tight on that marker, and then a bunch of the decimations get put on players, and when those circles appear, we just move to the other marker out of the decimation. Keep DPSing the boss, and then every time decimation drops, we move to the other marker. So we just go back and forth like that. There are other ways to handle that mechanic, but that's how we do it. And then once the boss goes back into the Apocalypse Drive phase, it exposes its decimation weapon. We blow up the decimation weapon. Then after that, we move to the back of the room, and then I go back up. Usually, like lately, we've been getting up near the boss just so that melee and ranged are closer together for the healers. And then I just keep attacking the boss. There's no more mechanics to deal with, really. So I just keep attacking the boss until the boss dies. And that's it for my ranged duties on that fight.
Very cool. Lorelei, do you have any melee?
No, it's pretty much all been covered already. As melee, you're up in the front and you're attacking the boss and staying on your assigned side and moving your decimation out if you get it. I don't seem to get it very often, but yep, just moving from side to side. That's it. It's one of the pretty boring fights. Just go from side to side and then run to the back and take your circle out of the group. And we've been stacking up. Was it the Annihilation? So we can all soak that.
Yep.
And that's it. You kill the gun when it comes up and then get back on the boss. And it's just pretty much stand there and hit it until you have to run to the back of the room.
Okay.
That's a good point, by the way. The Annihilations on there, they show up as like these green spikes on the floor, and then once you stand in them, it turns into just a circle. And those have to be soaked, so I will run around and go and get in those when they're out near the ranged. Now, Lorelei, do you have to do anything special because of the tank mechanics at all?
Nope. We just stand there. Stand there on your side, when we have the icons up, and then just move when we're supposed to and stack when you're supposed to. It's really, there's nothing really to think about on that fight for melee.
Okay. Epistle from tanking.
Yeah, a couple of things to get thrown our way. We do have to worry about the fell bombardment. We have to run out because he's locking onto us. And every second for 5 seconds, you're going to get hit with some damage. If you were to stand and spot, you'd also get a knockback. So to avoid that, we just do a tank swap, and the person with bombardment runs out. Does a small little arc. Usually we go to the left. We used to go left and right, but decided to make it easier on the people who have to run out of the group to go right. So a little less damage taken from those. And that's pretty much it. When he does his big damage thing, we just stand there because it doesn't really affect us too terribly much.
So
And the
you
only
don't
thing
have
really,
to run to the back of the room?
no, we
Okay,
just stay
okay.
right there. I even initially was using some sort of mitigation to try to diminish damage, and then realized he really wasn't doing much. Not that nothing that a self heal wouldn't be able to take care of. So that for us is just something to ignore. He knocks us back a tiny bit, but better to be staying there and ready to pick up the boss right away than have to burn a cooldown just to get across the room.
Interesting. All right, cool.
Yeah, so it's fairly simple, fairly straightforward for us.
Charity, your first dancing with the boss.
Usually at the beginning of the fight, I try and throw out that heroism as soon as the first attack goes off, so that if mommy doesn't, because she's usually our designated hero, but I've been trying to throw mine out too, so I throw that out, and that's at the beginning for that fight. And then I try and keep Riptide on players with decimation so that I can give them a buffer for the damage that goes out on them when we're not stacked for that one, because people get it singly and they have to run back into the group. But any hot will do. Mine is Riptide. You have to keep healing rain down at all times on the range group that's stacked loosely at first, because that's how we do it, while people are running out. And then I also keep healing rain down at all times when we're doing the stacking from back and forth. I throw chain heals on the melee when I do that, so that we the ranged have the rain at all times, but the melee get the chain heals, so that I'm making sure everybody's getting healed at all times. And then I run out for decimation stacks that go side to side. To do that, I use a gust of wind, because it helps me. I just hop to the other side and I throw down my rain. There's no wait. Everybody's getting healed right away. And that's usually the time when we get a lot of damage, is when we're doing that run back and forth thing for the decimation. So I use cooldowns such as Tide Totem, Spirit Link on top of my healing rain for those hairy moments. And of course, I communicate with my healers and let them know, hey, I'm dropping this, or even the raid group, to let them know, hey, make sure you're in the circle, so they know that that is down. I run out of the annihilation circles, so run into the annihilation circles to share the damage with the range, so that no extra damage goes out. I also have to keep an eye on the tanks when they're doing their runaway, because sometimes the explosion does hit them, and I know that our tanks are good about their self-heals, but I try and at least keep a Riptide on them so that they can constantly have that buffer, just in case something does hit them. And then the apocalypse comes up, where we have to run to the back of the room, and it takes a chunk of health off everyone. So I use my Ghost Wolf and my Gust of Wind, which helps me hop all the way to the back, and I throw down a healing rain, and I pop some cooldowns and chain heals. And then when the boss goes to his weapon phase, it's usually not a lot of damage going out. We're kind of just hitting it as fast as we can. So I keep an eye on the raid, and I DPS the crap out of it, and that's about it.
Very cool. Congrats, your first dance is over. All right, guys, I just want to say, if you fans out there have a podcast, or you have a business out there you want to advertise on our podcast, please go to www.advertisecast.com, look up Lions Pride Tavern, and my prices are there, and you can advertise on this particular website. I also want to say that you can go to our Facebook page, facebook.com Lions Pride Tavern, and join us there, and you can ask us questions all you want. You can also send us email, lionspridetavern@yahoo.com. And we're also on YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Podomatic.com. So let's hear the music. I hear it. I do. I know I do. Cue the music. It's time for Lorelei's Pet Battle Minute.
Hi. Last week I covered the teams that you'll need to get through one set of pet tamers in the Celestial Tournament. Today we'll cover another team. Remember, each time you enter the tournament, you'll get a random set of 3 tamers and then finish with the pet battle team, made up of the pets that you'll be able to buy. Let's take a look at Shademaster Kieran, Wise Mari, and Blingtron 4000. For Shademaster, you'll need a Kunlai Runt with Mangle, Thrash, and Deep Freeze, a Fell Flame with Burn, Immolate, and Conflagrate, and a Dark Moon Tonk with Shock and Awe and Ion Cannon. You won't really need a first slot attack for that one. For Wise Mari, bring along a Wild Hammer Griffin Hatchling with Squawk, Slicing Wind and Flock, a Scourge Whelpling with Tail Sweep, Plague Blood, and Death and Decay, and a Swamp Croaker with Water Jet, Croak, and Bubble. For this fight, you should be able to take down Blingtron with your Strider and Terraclaw, but if you need to, bring in the Dark Phoenix and finish him off. To get your rotation for these pets, head over to Zufu's Pet Strategy Guide, and it's really helpful. Come back next week and I'll have the final team ready for you so that you can have fun at the tournament.
And then there's
Getting Deeps with JoeBui.
Today's Getting Deeps is all about shopping around for gear. Having the right gear is a matter of research, playing the game, a bit of luck, and sometimes kindness. First, the research. It is important to know what gear you are looking for before you go out to get some gear. Sure, there will be some randomness to the gear you acquire by some methods, but knowing what you're looking for can really help in putting you in the right place at the right time. Check sites such as Icy Veins and Ask Mr. Robot for ideas about what gear you should be looking for. There are plenty of other resources available that cover gear as well, but those two are a couple of my favorites for every spec and class. Next, playing the game. If you want good gear, you're going to need to get out there and earn it. Whether you're buying some pieces off the auction house with gold you earned, or running raids, you're going to have to play the game to get the gear. I get most of my gear from raiding, but I also get great drops from doing high-level Mythic Plus dungeons and killing world bosses. Also, don't forget those relinquished tokens from the Vindicar. Sure, they start off at 9-10, but I've seen some Titan Forge considerably, so even those are worth a roll of the dice. Next, there is luck. Every boss you kill is going to have a chance of dropping some nice loot for you, but don't forget about the bonus rolls. Yeah, they don't always work. In fact, they seem to not work more often than they do, but keep trying. Every time you use a bonus roll and it doesn't work, the chance of your next one working increases until eventually you will get some gear. Last but not least is kindness. When you're raiding with your friends, there is a chance they will get a drop that is just right for you, but not so good for them. They very well might put that item up for roll, or just give it to you outright, depending on the rules of your raid. So go shopping around, find those pieces of gear that are going to help you become the hero DPS you strive to be, play the game, roll the dice, and keep getting those deeps.
very cool. And our tank and address.
This week's Come At Me Tanking Minute is all about sticking with the plan, Stan. So this last week, we have been getting quite good at Agrimar's tanks. They're quite comfortable with how it's working and even positioning and just fine-tuning it. But somehow, just because you have a plan doesn't mean the plan always unfolds as you want. We actually had a mess up that led to a raid wipe over a very simple thing, a communications issue, really. At one point, Dark had said something about, "Oh, I've got him." My understanding was that he would take the first hit, but that wasn't his understanding, and we didn't take time to sort of sort it all out. You see, going into the raid, we had a clear plan. The plan was whoever has aggro on the boss when he first gets his series of hits where he goes one side then the other and so forth, whoever had aggro first time, that person was going to be set to keep tanking. The other person skedaddle out of there. There's very little time, so it has to happen really fast. But my understanding of what was said, my misunderstanding of what was said, from perhaps what Darag misspoke, was that there's a little bit of confusion. So that's why one of the take-homes for us is you always have to be sure on what the plan is and stick with it. Improvising is good under certain circumstances, but on a fight like this, which is so tight, and people need to be really clear and understand their role in a split second, it's really important to stick with the original plan. Or you can have what we had, which was that sudden, very traumatic experience as a tank of watching the whole raid, well, half the raid anyways, suddenly lying flat on their back. And many people in channel saying, "What happened?" Never a situation you want to be in as a tank. So always stick with the plan, Stan.
And there's
So this week's Splash into Heals is a little different. I realized the other day in our raid, due to misunderstanding of different cooldowns healers have, people are not utilizing the cooldowns that are being dropped. So they don't run from vital heals. I'm starting a series of short explanations about each class. They're not going to be fully detailed, but this way you can see what the cooldowns are, even if you don't play a healer, and it could save your life if you run into it or otherwise. So, of course, because I play a Resto Shaman, I'm going to start with the Resto Shaman. So, the Resto Shamans are extremely flexible in healing and are the best at group AoE healing. They are great for saving lives when most of the time it would be a raid wipe due to their high amount of cooldowns. We always seem to have a cooldown that can potentially save the raid. Our toolkit or cooldowns are Healing Tide Totem. This pulses in the raid and it goes within 40 yards and it does 96% of our spell power. So it heals everybody up pretty fast. And it's kind of like our Tranquility or it's like our big cooldown. Another cooldown that we have that I use in between, like if I've already used my Healing Tide Totem, or just for emergency, which is great for emergency, is Spirit Link Totem. And this reduces all damage taken to all party members within 10 yards. Plus, every second, the health affected by other players is redistributed. So it kind of evens everybody's health out so that the people that are really low take a little bit from the top of the people high and it redistributes us. So we all come up. And since our other healers are throwing out hots, it's using their hots to pull us all up. And we can go from people having about death experiences, I throw that down and it just whoosh, everybody's back up suddenly. And it's really great. The next thing is Ascendance. And this duplicates your heals that you've made while in Ascendance, and it goes to all the nearby allies. So as I'm healing somebody else, it splashes other people with those same heals. It's really great. Another thing that's really good is Cloudburst Totem. And Cloudburst Totem takes all of the heals that you do while it's up, it sucks all that up, and then it takes 25% of that and it throws it out to the raiders within 40 yards. I like to use that in succession with other big heals, such as the Healing Tide Totem. That way, it's just that emergency keep going heal. There are other ones, such as Earth Shield Totem, that's kind of like a shield where everybody that gets hit, instead they hit the totem, and that way the totem's taking the damage, and that's really good for fights where the tanks, like that fight where the tank is taking damage but we can't heal them. I throw that down on the tanks and the damage hits the totem instead of the tanks, because that cancels out them not being able to be healed. There are some other ones because we have so many, but I'm not going to cover them all. The next thing is utility. Now, the great thing about shamans is we bring two things to help the DPS. That's the heroism or bloodlust if you play Horde. And obviously everybody knows what that is. It's amazing. So you bring that to the table. We also have Ghost Wolf form, which is a self-movement speed, and it's great because it's instant. I don't have to cast it. I just go as fast as I can and I hit a heal and it pops right back out. My favorite utility for movement is Gust of Wind. I use it all the time. You'll see me hopping around when I'm doing my stuff, and it's great because I can just hop to the other side and start healing again. Another one that is in with that, though, if you don't want that one, you can pick Wind Rush Totem, which I've actually thought about switching to. That's something else I'm going to look into, because if I use that and I drop it, everybody can run really fast. So it's kind of like how druids have that thing that makes us all, it's like wild run, and we all run really fast to the other side. Well, I have a totem that does that. And then Spirit Walker's great is so great because it's a self cast, and it lets you cast and run at the same time. So when things are getting hairy and I'm having to run around like a chicken with my head cut off, I use that. Like especially at our last fight in this raid where there's just stuff all over the ground at all times and I'm running around like crazy. I throw that out, and then I throw out my casts, and I'm just moving like a champ. Of course, we have Purge, which is very helpful because it takes off unwanted buffs off of people. And I have a CC, which is Frog, and that crowd controls things in our raid. Of course, we have a Cleanse, which all healers do. Ours does Curses. And then I have a Lightning Surge totem and a Earth Grab totem and a Voodoo totem. All of these are good for stuns and slows, which are great. My favorite is actually, and I don't get to use it very often, the Voodoo totem because it hexes everything around it. So there's just a ton of frogs. So the pros to being a shaman. The great thing about shamans is when we're grouped or clumped, we are amazing. We excel. And Healing Rain, Chain Heal, Healing Stream Totem, these are things for examples of that because they're amazing at keeping everybody in a area up without any problems. We're doing all that in between that everybody else is healing. We're great at burst damage. And remember how I said that we had the Spirit Link totem and the shield totem. We get to not have to worry about those rules like, oh, you can't take heals, or there's just a ton of damage and we're all going to die right now and oh, it's going to be over. Well, that just boom, out of the way. You don't have to worry about that because you either the shield from the totem takes the damage, or Spirit Link just pops everybody right back up. Which with that, life saving. So we can take a ton of burst damage, and we're great at life saving people because of those things. We also have things like Ancestral Vigor and Ancestral Protection Totem that help with life saving too. We're great for mobility because we can ghost walk instantly and use our burst thing across, which I believe it's Gust of Wind. And then we have Spirit Walker's Grace, which we can cast and run. The other great thing is we are also capable of great DPS in between heals. So whenever we have our stuff down and we've already gotten hots on everybody and we don't have anything to do, we are very capable of throwing out a lot of DPS. Now the cons. Every healer has a con. We're not all perfect, and that's why you pick what you pick. So the bad thing about being a shaman is we are not the best target healers. We do have large heals, but it takes a lot of mana to just do a large heal or of that sense. We're better with AoE. We are also not great with tank heal cooldowns. So like we don't have a lot of stuff other than that shield or something like that that we can do singly to help a tank. If something panicky happens, I can use my AoE stuff and it works, but that means the AoE stuff isn't going to be helped on the group. So it's very hard for me to tank heal emergency things. Another thing is we are not good with spread out fights. If you haven't noticed, if you look at healing meters at all, not that they matter that much, but you'll notice that our heals tend to go down and we don't hit as many people when everybody's spread out. That's why I love this raid, because there's so much stacking in this raid and I can help so much. And last raid I couldn't because we're so spread out, so it's very hard for me to hit the whole group. Anyways, I hope that this helps you understand the shaman and what they can do for you in your raid and know what is good and what you need to run into and how you can help them. And I hope this helps you choose to play a shaman because I love them. If you have any questions, you can always email me at lovesweetcharity@gmail.com or tweet me at lovesweetcharity. And make sure you tune in next week because we're going to do Restoration Druids.
Awesome. Thank you, Charity, for that healing minute.
Or hour. Sorry.
That's awesome. So next up is... It's WFN News, Warcraft Stafford News. Command Center is up next at the Broken Shores with Forces of Order and Worthy Champions. Just for Lorelei, I talked to Blizzard, and it's the Pet Battle bonus event this coming week. Yay!
Thank you.
WoW tokens are at 168, up just a little bit from last week. And what's really cool, Sunday starts the Call of the Scarab. Guys, remember that one where you had to go make the bandages and give them to the army? Well, here's what's cool. If the Horde gets it, their flag stays there for an entire year. If the Alliance gets it, our flag stays there for an entire year. So you've got 3 days. You got Sunday, Monday, Tuesday to get out there, the Call of the Scarab. So get out there, show them that the Alliance can outdo the Horde. For the Alliance!
Hooray!
And Antorus the Burning Throne Raid Finder Last Wing, Wing 4, opens Tuesday, tomorrow. And now everybody can do Argus. So guys, we've gone way past our time, but that's okay. Our fans love listening to us. I want to thank Charm for her beautiful music, and please go visit her website and her YouTube channel. The links are listed in the description below. BenSound at bensound.com. Vincent Moretto for our tavern music. And I want to thank the panel members for showing up this week. Yay!
Yes.
Yay!
Yep.
Yay,
definitely.
attendance.
And thanks for all of our fans for listening. We'll see you all next week.
See ya.
Have a
Thanks,
great week.
everybody.
Portal now going up.
So if Joe Bowie tried to fool us again.
Oh my god, Joe?
Always luck.
Joe with
Yes!
That's the sweet sound of success.
That's going in the podcast.
Oh yeah.
That's a blooper in game.
No, that's not fair.
To find out what that was all about, go to facebook.com/Lions Pride Tavern, and the very first video there is Charity going to the old Dalaran instead of the new. We call it the charity alarm.